So before we get started, I just want to clear up some confusing nomenclature. See, when I say Dragon Ball, I'm referring to the Dragon Ball franchise as a whole. I mean not only the original Japanese manga, which was just called Dragon Ball, but all derivative works and any related content. Now, if you're as stupid as a Cyberman and you didn't understand a word I just said, I'll make it easy for you. Me say Dragon Ball. Me mean all Dragon Ball. Me mean manga, all anime, and all Dragon Ball things.
Yo, it's L.
I've been a fan of Dragon Ball probably longer than anything else in my life. And unlike most Western fans, I actually got into Dragon Ball via the first anime. I still remember the first episode I ever saw was when Monster Carrot showed up and he turned Bulma into a carrot. And I just continued watching, and as a kid I do remember I watched all of the Pilaf arc. And the show was just so crazy as a kid. Like, I loved the fighting and everything, but I just found the story to just be so, I don't know, ridiculous, but not in a bad way. To give you an example, at the end of the Pilaf arc, a talking pig asks a magical dragon for a pair of girls' panties, and then a really dumb kid can look at the full moon and turn into an ape. If I would have told my teachers or my parents that I watch a show like that, they would have thought that I made something up or something was wrong with me, and they would have old yellered me. Fun fact though, pigs wanting panties is a pretty good description of me and my friends in high school. Speaking of which, in high school, I managed to download and watch all of Dragon Ball, all of Dragon Ball Z, and even GT. But as a kid, like, you couldn't just put on anything you want. You couldn't just download something. Sometimes you couldn't even just go to the store and just buy DVDs of anything. So I couldn't watch GT. There's so much Dragon Ball that I missed. Even Dragon Ball Z. Like, there's some stuff that I missed. So I just tried to read up everything I could online. And this was before Google, so, you know, not really the easiest thing to do. But I remember trying to read up on Dragon Ball GT. My friends and I were convinced that Trunks and Vegeta have a fight in space, and then Trunks goes Super Saiyan 3 and he cuts Vegeta in half, and we wanted to watch GT to figure out why. When I grew up and I was able to watch all of GT, I can confirm that 99% of everything I read online turned out not to be true. And it's a good thing I learned that as a kid, because most people, anything they read online that they want to believe or are hearing for the first time, they think is 100% true. But I love Dragon Ball. When I was a kid, I actually started drawing because of Dragon Ball. Well, not only Dragon Ball, but Dragon Ball also did get me into the old 80s and 90s anime, the hand-drawn, cel-animated stuff. I don't care if an anime sucks. If it's one of those 80s and 90s hand-drawn cel animation thing, I eat that shit up. I love that look of like the classic, the old school animes. And a lot of stuff that I would draw would be comic books, and a lot of it would be me and my friends as Saiyans, either fighting each other, fighting like Frieza or other Dragon Ball characters and stuff, and it was a lot of fun, and I loved drawing. I wanted to grow up and not necessarily be a comic book artist or anything, but all I wanted to do with my life was just draw, and that was because of Dragon Ball. And everyone would always compliment me, and it made me feel really happy. Unfortunately though, all my family did was make fun of me and harass me, and I gave up on that dream as a kid. And a few years later, I was on my ass, and I remember thinking, when I get back on my feet, I'm never going to let another dream of mine ever die again. And the fact that I'm here today is proof that dreams come true. As Dragon Ball Z Sparking Zero is a Dragon Ball game that I've been dreaming of since beating the Budokai Tenkaichi series on PS2. So off the bat, I did have issues getting this to run on my PC. When I first got it, I had to wait almost a day before I could actually play it. Now while the recording does look okay, This was after it took me all night to get the game to run smoothly. Now I get it. When it comes to PC, unfortunately, sometimes you do have to tweak your settings in order to get a game to run, and it may not always run. Sometimes you do have to get a refund or whatever. I don't blame the game developers or the game itself when stuff like that happens. Usually I don't. In this case, I do, because based off everything I read online, this was not optimized for PC. I got it running on my stuff, but it doesn't mean every PC owner will, and trust me, your specs do not matter. This game was not optimized for PC. If you care about graphics, get this on console. Then again, if you really care about graphics when it comes to a game that just has to look like a child's cartoon, you might be a few Super Saiyans short of a bargain sale. I will say needing luck and not a good computer in order to run this game on computer is the worst part about this game. Aside from that, I didn't really have any real complaints, aside from just one. So before I continue, I just wanted to address something. Most YouTubers or content creators, when they make fun of something or someone, it's usually someone that they don't like, that they don't agree with, or something they don't like or agree with. For me, on this channel, I'm going to make fun of myself and other things, but I like to poke fun of the fandoms that I'm a part of. Because I think we can all agree, no matter what fandoms we're a part of, there's always those people that you laugh at. Not to say they aren't real fans, not to gatekeep or anything, but we all have those people in the fandom that is just, they make fun of themselves, so you sort of have to do it too. Having said that, my biggest complaint with the game is they do not cover any content from prior to chapter 195 in the manga. For you non-Dragon Ball fans out there, the reason is a lot of Western fans will not buy the game if it covers any of that content. I make fun of Funimation fans for two reasons. For those of you who don't know, Funimation, they did a dub of Dragon Ball Z. In the West, it was the most popular dub, and that's what everybody usually thinks of. Dragon Ball Z, okay, the Funimation dub here in the West. I obviously watched that dub as a kid. I loved it so much that I decided to watch any and every Dragon Ball anime in as many dubs as I could. You know, the English, Japanese, blah blah blah. I read the manga, blah blah blah. So a lot of the Funimation dub fans, well, they feel the same way about Dragon Ball Z as I do. Okay, you know, we're fans. We are fellow fans. You know, our passion for the series might be a bit different, but for me, it's like, well, if you love the series, why not watch all the animes, read the manga, blah, blah, blah. I make fun of Funimation fans because the way they react to that question is not all of them. Trust me, one of my best friends is a Funimation fan, a Funimation dub fan, and we tease each other, but it's all in good faith. We're all fans here, but when you say you're the biggest, baddest fan of something and you won't read the manga, read the other end, blah, blah, blah. It's like, you know what I mean? When I ask, you know, why won't you read the manga? Why won't you watch the other stuff? And people respond with insults, racist comments. And it's just, to me, it's funny watching a full-grown man have a hissy fit and a temper tantrum over a child's cartoon. So if you're a Funimation fan, welcome. I love Dragon Ball Z, so do you. But if you're gonna lose your mind over it, I ain't gonna make fun of you. And I love Final Fantasy. Just wait until I get the cover of Final Fantasy game, because all my fellow Final Fantasy fans, you know what the fan base is like. And the second reason is because of the current English voice actor of Goku, Sean Schemmel. I met him at a convention. He was an asshole to me, to my best friend, and as I learned later, everybody at that convention and the fan base at conventions. It seems like I didn't want to cover this, but I figured like it's not a secret, like it's public knowledge. in good conscience, given the way he treated me and my friends, not only the rest of the fan base, not only other voice actors of Goku, I can't in good conscience support the Funimation dub. That's just me. I'll still watch it. Maybe not. I've heard a little bit of the Funimation dub of Super, and that, oh god, I don't know which is worse. The original Funimation dub or the current dubs they did for Super. I mean, you can't, it doesn't matter. And not only that, but for those of you who don't know, Masako Nozawa, she's a Japanese voice of Goku. She is the definitive voice of Goku. She voiced Goku as a kid, as an adult, his children, blah blah blah. Sean Schemmel is a full-grown man who's publicly had meltdowns over the fact that a woman is better at his job than he is. So, you know what I mean? So ever since I played them, my favorite Dragon Ball games were Dragon Ball Z, Budokai Tenkaichi 2 and 3 on PlayStation 2. Sparking Zero is just a continuation of that. Literally, Sparking Zero is what the series was called in Japan. This game plays and feels like the next game in the series because it is. It's just a few console generations late. I have been playing the game since I got it, and in this video I want to go over my first impressions of the game. Usually when I cover a game, I like to start off with what I would change. Basically the stuff I didn't really like. In this game, there's a lot of these what-if story branches. It's like an alternate timeline based off what would happen if someone lost a fight they would have won, or vice versa. They did do this in the original Budokai Tenkaichi series, only there I felt it was done better. It wasn't done too often, and it was only done for just a few fights, but in Sparking Zero, some of it is just stupid things like using certain finishing moves. And this game seems to have storylines for almost every character, so you'll end up playing these alternate timeline scenarios more than you would the actual storyline. I will say this whole story branch thing is completely overdone in this game. So there are 7 arcs in the manga that they could have pulled content from instead of doing the 1,000 different what-if scenarios. It almost feels like, in a funny way, filler from the anime, because you're just spending an hour going through this and you're just, at the end of it, you're just like, nothing important happened, I learned nothing. What was the point of this? I spent an hour having to play this alternate storyline where, instead of Goku meeting Bulma, he became a skateboarder, and by the end of it, I had to turn Super Saiyan in order to do a 1080 Kamehameha against Tony Hawk. Again, if there's anything prior to the Saiyan saga, Funimation fans won't buy it. Aside from that, everything else I pretty much liked. Like the equipment system, it's basically the same as the Budokai Tenkaichi games. Equip the best stuff you can to reduce the cost of your powerful attacks and basically just increase the rest of your stats. I will say though, the equipment system in this game is a lot better. For example, in Budokai Tenkaichi 2, if you wanted to equip people with the same equipment, you had to get multiple copies. In Sparking Zero, you get one piece of equipment and everyone can share it. That makes it so much easier because now you're not wasting time having to farm equipment. So when I went from Dragon Ball Z Budokai Tenkaichi 2 to playing number 3, it felt like I had to step up my game as combat was more refined. Playing Sparking Zero, it feels like the developers stepped up their game. Sparking Zero is a more refined, a sleeker and sexier version than the PS2 games. So why do we Dragon Ball fans play Dragon Ball games? To feel like we're a part of the action, to feel like we're in it. Except for when I'm losing, then I get mad and I punch my iPad by accident. But this really is, in some ways it is a sequel, and it feels like a good or a great sequel. Because coming from the previous series, I feel like, oh, I sort of mastered the games, you know what I mean? But like a good sequel, it takes everything you learned from before, but now it's like, okay, well, now there's more for you to learn, and there's more combat tricks for you to master, and this game is great. If you played the Budokai Tenkaichi series on PS2, or even if you played any of the other Dragon Ball Z games, like, this is as close to feeling like you're one of the characters as you can get. And the other thing I really liked was this custom battles thing. To me, this should have replaced at least 90%, if not all, of the whole alternate storyline things in this game. Now, I love this mode. You get to play as a variety of different characters. I don't know if you get to play as literally every character in the game, but it really feels like you do. Which is cool, because then you get to learn, well, what characters am I good with? You get to learn a few more combos, combat tricks, and when you go up against one of these characters, since you know their moves a little bit, it gives you a better opportunity or better chances of defeating them. And this is a really fun mode. I really enjoyed playing this mode with my friend because it's just fun, like, even when we're not playing against each other, just to take turns, watch each other play, because it's like, you're sitting there, you might be having a few beers, a few bowls, whatever, and, between friends, it's like you just make fun of each other when you're losing because you guys are playing as characters that you never played as before and stuff, and I love this game. I think, like most fighting games, a lot of the great memories and the great times you're gonna have is not only from maybe doing online, but playing with your friends. And a game like this, you get to play with fellow Dragon Ball fans and everything. It's great. I love this. Combat's great. Watching my friends play is great. Playing against my friends, playing against people. I'm really, really enjoying this game. This is just based off first impressions, one of the best sort of experiences I've had lately of just playing new games. So while it's not hard to make a good Dragon Ball game, it is pretty easy to screw up. All you really have to do is just make us feel like we're watching the anime but we're in control. And this game does that. Characters have appropriate moves, and there's a huge variety of combos, attacks, and strategies. One thing that I found was really cool, because I've been trying to play as many different characters as I can, I found compared to Smash Brothers, no characters I've played so far have felt like clones of each other. So, until we get another great Dragon Ball game, which we haven't got any good ones since the PS2 until now, I'm probably going to be playing this game for a long, long time, which is fine. This game is so much fun, and as long as they try to put in some of the more modern stuff like Black Frieza, Moro, or Ultra Ego, like, I don't really have any complaints with this. I will say the game is not as difficult as I would say people made it out to be. But then again, I have been playing the Budokai Tenkaichi series since high school, so a few times I've been around that track, so it's just not gonna happen like that, because I ain't no hollerback girl. Now, before I forget, I just wanted to mention you could also play online, which is cool, and you should play online. I won't, though, because I find, and I think you'll agree, a lot of the people who are good at online games are guys who are throwing away their 20s, living in mom's basement, and just vaping and shit. Me, I'm too busy eating pussy like a Saiyan eats food at an all-you-can-eat buffet. So like I said, Dragon Ball Z Budokai Tenkaichi 2 on PlayStation 2 is my favorite Dragon Ball game. Like most games I love, I always want a modern remake or remaster. And well, this is pretty much what I asked for. But much like 69ing with a partner who didn't shower, sometimes you have to pay a price for what you want. And while I didn't get a modern Dragon Ball game that covers everything from Goku meeting Bulma to the latest stuff that's happening with the anime or the manga such as Ultra Ego, we at least got a Dragon Ball game worthy of being a successor to the PS2 series. Plus, any characters that are missing, they can always add in via DLC later. So is this game perfect? Well, much like the storytelling in Dragon Ball at times, no. But it doesn't have to be. This game captured exactly the feeling it should. When I was a child, I had a lot of Dragon Ball toys. Now that I'm an adult, playing video games is like the adult way of playing with toys. I love this game, I love Dragon Ball, and this is the Dragon Ball game that I'm going to be playing from now on. This is going to be my go-to Dragon Ball game. Which is great. After gaming generations of just mediocre Dragon Ball games, I'm glad they went back to the best to hopefully design the rest. As Sparking Zero, I think that's a foundation that all future Dragon Ball games should be built around. So now, I know why you clicked on this video. You're curious who's in the game. So, time to give everybody what they want, a roster rundown.
Dragon Ball Z Sparking Zero has a roster containing all your favorite characters such as Goku, Vegeta, Cricket, Bardock, Virginia, West Virginia, Go-Go, Go-Stop, Freezing Unit, Broccoli Lesnar, Super Soup 3 Carrot, SJ4 Go-Go Gadget, Dunks, Kirby Flabby Loaded, the pink she tells you not to worry about, the pink we have at home, Mr. Hanky, the second biggest forehead in Dragon Ball, some bald guy's AI sex doll, Grandpa Gohan, Rikishi, Cheese Whiz, an Egyptian pharaoh, Napoli, some boy that Goku kidnaps, Pickle, Golden Frisbee, Captain Ginyu, one of my ex-girlfriends, a space Australian, Old Man Goku, Goku when he joined the NWO, Great Bear Vegetable, Vegans, Carrot Cake, the Terminator from Terminator 2, and a whole bunch more of other characters, all named after food.
So Dragon Ball Sparking Zero has released at a great time for Dragon Ball fans. Even though, at the time of recording, the manga is on a hiatus, we do have a new manga at least. There's new anime, new movies, new games. This is great. I love Dragon Ball. Dragon Ball may be the first series that I ever got into in terms of anything. Even stuff I liked as a kid that I grew out of, or stuff that I got into as a kid that I came back to or carried throughout adulthood. Dragon Ball has always been that thing. Since the minute I saw the first episode, I was hooked. That was it. That was it for me. And I don't care what level of fan you are, whether you're casual or hardcore, blah blah blah. Even if you've never spent the money to support the franchise, even if you just watch a Z as a kid or whatever, I just want to say thank you to all the fans, because, you know, because of you guys, this series is still around, and I don't know how many takes it's going to take for me to record this without getting emotional, but I love Dragon Ball. I want more people to read the manga, more people to watch all the animes, because that's just what I feel about this series. Like, I just wish when, like, every kid grew up, they just get a copy of the manga and the anime, you know what I mean? Like, I love this story, and I love this series. I keep trying not to get emotional, so this is taking me a bunch of takes, but I just want to say thank you to not only all the fans, but Akira Toriyama, the man who... We wouldn't have Dragon Ball without him. It's his creation. He passed away at the time of recording about a year ago or so, less than a year ago. And it's just, he created something that just, I know it's meant a lot to a lot of people, but certainly to me has meant the world in a way. And I love this series, and I'm grateful for it. It sucks Toriyama's gone. You know, hopefully he left a bunch of stuff in the pipeline, but thank you, Akira Toriyama. Rest in peace, Akira Toriyama. I will love and I will support this franchise until the day I die.